gotta turn the shadow off so I can stay with you guys. I'm way too full of myself tonight. Way too full of energy, not myself. So what's interesting is when we're having conversations with people, it's quick and easy to say we're going to give you a complimentary coaching or free coaching. However, when you allow them to hear the number and tell them you're going to scholarship that for them, it changes their mindset around it. So they still feel invested. They also know it's a heck of a gift. So just some stuff to keep in mind, just some language. So let's do this. Now I get this back up. Yes. All right, cool. So one of the things that we were talking about was creating the client and also what to do on the first and the second call. So who has done an enrollment conversation with somebody? I'm sorry, let me pause that. Who has not done an enrollment session with somebody? All right, cool. Thank you for participating. I won't call anybody out just yet. We'll just have fun. So what's neat about it is an enrollment session is there's two things happening in this enrollment session. One, we are literally interviewing that person to see how they meet our criteria of who we want to coach. And I'm very stringent on this because I used to all the time take anybody that came across my desk. I would advise against that, even in the practice zone. If you're not sure if you want to take them, then you do a very short 3 to 4 session package, and that's your tester if they're adamant on it. However, what I'll typically do, and this is just for when you're having a conversation, you're getting resistance, they're not very coachable, maybe they're using some certain language you don't like, or maybe they're not the same belief system as you. What I'll do is I'll tell you guys what, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to send you this book, right? I'll tell them, I'll send you this book, and you have 30 days to read it. I just grabbed a random book off my desk. You have 30 days to read it, and I'll touch back on you on May 5th of this year. And then we set the appointment up because I know if they go through my book, 1, they're coachable, 2, they're going to get massive value out of it, and 3, now they're in a different mindset because I know what comes out of the books that I read. So you want to be very strategic on the books that you give them. I've used that lots and lots of times. What happens is it drags out over a couple of months and then they just sort of disappear. Now, what I will typically do is advise them to go with somebody else. It's a good idea to get coaching. However, maybe we're just simply not a good fit. So it's no problem. There's nothing personal. Yes, Rafi, just give me 1 second. So there's no issues or anything like that. There's no ill will. You always want to keep it open because I've actually just, there was a client that I had years and years ago, and we just reconnected again about a year ago, and that person completely made a big shift, and now we're coaching at a very high level. So we want to make sure we keep those bridges open, not necessarily for us, but more for them. Am I saying your name, Rafi? Am I saying that correct?
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Cool. Did you wave your hand at me?
I did. I was wondering, because I couldn't hear everything exactly. Was that the score test you were just talking about, or is that something else? You said you might want to give them a quick score test, or I thought I heard you say that.
Oh, no, a book. It's just a book.
Okay, so it's all been the same.
So the test was.
Okay.
Yeah, so the test I'm talking about is that very first enrollment conversation. I'm going to give you guys the questions for it. Is for me to know that they're in my space of who I want to coach. Because in the beginning we have different levels of coaching. We have this level here, which is the base level. Is there background noise? I'm so unhappy about this mic thing right now. Let me just try something really quick.
Nothing yet, Steve.
Hello. Check, check, check.
I can hear you.
You guys can hear me?
Barely.
How about now?
Yeah, that's good.
All right. I'll project.
It sounds good now.
Sorry. All right, perfect. We'll leave it right there because I can hear you guys too. I'm not sure what's happening with this. I'll have to reset the system at a different time. So what's interesting is in the basis of coaching and the different levels of beginner and then those different levels from there. So you have the beginner level. When you first get into coaching, there's a huge pool of people that want to be coached, and that's everybody. When you're in there, you kind of dabble in it. You're not really sure. You know you have a fishing rod and some bait on the hook, but you're not really sure what kind of fish you're going to catch, so you just keep casting out, reeling it in. And then eventually what happens is you get used to the fishing, you get used to the fishing rod, and you get used to the pond, and then you get versed in fishing, so to speak. And then all of a sudden you move from this big giant pond of people, then you move up into a smaller pool. Now this is a way more selective pool. This is the people that you're like, man, this is going to be a tough one. I know I'm going to be challenged on this. It's not my perfectly ideal client, but I know that I'm going to learn, I'm going to grow from this person as well as they grow from our conversation. So this is a great spot for me to be. That's usually level 2. And then we have level 3. That's a fun space because that's when you're working with every single person that you want to work with. Like you have your ideal client. They're super challenging. They're fired up about life. They're ready to just rock and roll with God. And it's like, let's just change the planet. Let's just hit some transformation. That, right? So you move up through these levels. And here's the funny thing. The coaching doesn't change. It's the same from every level to every level. It's just where you feel comfortable, I'm sorry, not comfortable, to where your confidence levels are. So with that being said, that very first call is all about an interview. You're interviewing that person. So you're asking them questions, you're listening to them, you're watching their body language. We're going to go a little bit through body language today. You're not going to have to remember or learn body language, but I'll show you how to be very in tune and present to it. So you can pick up on the subtle nuances. So that's step one. I was going to lay out our call tonight, but I think instead of laying out our call, what I'd like to do is, scholarship, Rafi. I think somebody was asking. So what I'll do is, have you guys been setting prices at all? I don't know where everybody is. Is anybody not setting prices? Has anybody not set a price? Okay. If you haven't, just create a price, start there, get a couple of yeses and raise it up from there. My rule of thumb is to set my price. If I get 5 non-objections, basically the person says, I'm in, how do I pay you? That's a sign to me that my value has gone above the price that I'm giving. Now we always want to give a little bit more, but when they're, yes, I'm in, that means you've given a lot of value and they know that they're happy that you didn't charge double. I'm not saying you do charge double, but I usually do a 5, 10, 15% increase and I just test the waters. The last increase I did was 20, I think it was 27.5% to make it a round number. Yes was immediate. So I know that there's room in here. For some, I keep my ear to the ground because I work with a lot of high-power coaches, and I just want to give you all hope here. Coaching it is growing at an astronomical speed. However, so are the clientele. People are really understanding and seeing the power behind coaching and the power behind understanding that we do have blind spots as people. So just be ready, man. There's an influx of people waiting for you. So that's exciting. That's numbers. So let's do this. I'll give you, let's do this. This is a 20-minute conversation. So I'm gonna ask first, where do you feel right now that you can either type it in or speak it out. All I'm gonna do is take notes. I'm not gonna do any coaching on it just yet. But what do you feel the biggest challenge is right now? unless you're challenge free and everybody's ready to rock and roll. Okay, getting going. Getting people to say yes, love it, sealing the contract, going live. All right, cool. I emailed you back, by the way, Jessica. Getting started, getting clients, getting going. It's like a pretty common theme. Framework for a session, cool, got that. Well, I'm going to give you, definitely have a framework for a session. Getting clients, getting started. So general consensus is creating the client, right? Okay, cool. So there's something that I heard a long time ago, reaching people, perfect. So I've got responses for everything here, so that's kind of cool. Is that we are not getting clients, and that's where a lot of us, that's where I was from too, we create one. Because you can create a client from anybody you walk into, anybody, anywhere, at any time. And I'm going to tell you exactly how I create my clients. I've created them at the gas station, at church. I've created clients everywhere. Just if you want to have a 5-minute conversation with me, I'm probably going to get your phone number, then we're going to have a conversation around it. And anybody, any network marketers in here? Hey, for real, I'm the only one that's ever done network marketing? All right, well, if you have and you don't want to put your hand up, a $10,000 coaching package is way, in my opinion, a more of a simplistic process than a $20 bottle of pills. Just going to tell you that straight up. I have gotten way more yeses than I hit ranks, I walk stage, I've gone vacations and all that kind of stuff in network marketing. This to me is one of the most simplistic things to do because we're talking to people about them and they know for sure when we're done with having that conversation that they're there right there with you and they understand that the value that you're going to help pour into them is going to help transform their life forever. So on these calls, these tester calls, lots of network marketers in here. All right, cool. All right, we're in good company, right? So, what's neat about these, I was gonna copy these and put them in our Facebook group, but I want to put them in here in our chat, and I'm gonna go through them in just a minute. I'll hit enter in a moment here. So, depending on who you are coaching and where you're coaching them into, it's gonna help you frame your questions. We do not, as coaches, I'm sure Ron's already gone over, we do not have a, I'm going to be kind of nice about it. We don't give advice, so to speak. If we're giving advice, telling people how to do things, we're teachers, trainers, or friends. And that's not what any of you are. Coaching brings out the stuff into people, all the other stuff, training, teaching, and consulting, which is nothing wrong. There's a lot of value and a lot of money to be made there. It's not what I want to do. They speak into, we bring out of, right? If you want to model Christ, look in the book, look in the Bible. Go in the big book, man. That book right there is one of the most insightful things I have ever read. When I became a coach, I really got that book, man. I want to tell you what. So one of the greatest things is, yeah, there's nothing right or wrong about being a teacher, trainer, or consultant. However, in this, so where's Amy? Can you just wave at me? I'm not going to unmute you. Where's Amy? I saw you a minute ago. Where'd you go? Oh, that's because she's empty. That's okay. So we have to untrain ourselves. We have to untrain what we do. Hi, Amy. I was just asking for you. I was saying that if we are teachers or trainers, it's difficult because we want to give the advice because we want to tell them, right? That's probably one of the biggest obstacles we run into. So these 5 simple questions I already put in the chat. I just need to hit enter. So I want you to be present with me on these. It's very simplistic stuff. And what these are doing is you want to see where's their mind and how far out can they see. So this is called the pre-enrollment conversation. Because I don't do anything else except for an enrollment conversation with someone because I'm enrolling them into a possibility, not enrolling them into coaching. If we don't get a possibility, if we don't have an insight, aha moment, or some kind of a breakthrough right there on that very first call, I'm going to create another call and they get that one for free too. I'm going to keep on going. If I really dig this person and they're inspiring me to keep digging with them, I've had, I think the most I did was 4, and then they signed up right on the spot. I didn't hit enter yet, Laura. So The very first question is so simplistic. You guys are going to say, crypto for real? Yep. What would your life or your business look like in 3 years? It's so easy to ask. Now, a lot of times what we do is we ask for their goals. You know, what are your goals? What goals do you have? And while goals are cool, let me answer this question. How many problem solvers are on here? Yeah? So check it out. If I ask you to put down a set of goals, you might be challenged with it. Because I'm also a problem solver. And when you're creating goals, you only see challenges. So how can I create a goal until I can get all these challenges out of the way? So there's 2 different ways to ask. So if you just ask them what their life looks like, it's a completely different question. I always like to go through 2 what else's. Oh, my life will look like, my wife will look like, or my life will look like this, and I take all the notes so you can read it back to them and so forth. It's really important to be able to, because one of the things you want to be able to do is you want to be able to use, it's called reflective inquiry. And reflective inquiry is very powerful because you're not using our words, you're using their words back to them. So when you read it back, it sparks more stuff. Also, they get to hear themselves talking. And when they hear themselves talking, they go, ah, did I really say that? Yeah, you totally said it. It was amazing. You said you wanted this, this, and this. Really, I never thought about that before. So it's kind of cool when that happens. So I only do 2 what else is on the first call. On my call, which I'll get to in a minute, it's 7. I really frustrate my clients. It's fun. So, and we'll talk about how fun this is in a minute. So once we create that, sometimes I'll say, man, that was a really important one. Jot that down for yourself. So they're also taking a little bit of notes. I put all of my notes on this call and my standard enrollment call. I always put it in an email, and I CC myself. I put the recording in it, and I send it out to them. That way they have all the notes in it. So when they actually relive the entire session on that call. It's really kind of a neat process. In fact, my last client who just signed on about a week and a half ago, he said he couldn't remember anything when he was talking to his wife, and then my email came in and he read the whole thing, and she's like, if you don't do this. So it was really kind of cool, so it helps. I send the video recording. I send the video recording to it. Yeah. Cool. Okay, so first question. Second question, what dangers you'll have or run into over the next 3 years, both internal and external? And then I pause for a second and I say, how are you going to get in your own way? I just want to right away, we're going right in. And if they say, well, what do you mean? Say, well, what has stopped you in the past to do this? Oh, you mean this list of things? So they're going to tell you. They'll be super awesome about it. Simple one. So the number 3 is, what are the opportunities you're going to have over the next 3 years as you're working towards this life that you want to create for yourself? And they say, well, what do you mean? Say, well, I don't know. Who do you know? Who can you talk to? What kind of skills do you have, and so forth. Are we recording? We are recording. Super awesome. All right. Anybody have any questions so far? It's pretty easy stuff in it. I am going to send you guys these questions, totally. Yeah, I'm going to put it actually in the chat here, and then I'll put it in the Facebook group later. Let's pause for a second. One of the things I did not say, because I kind of take for granted sometimes, that all the small talk. When I get on a call with somebody, so if I jumped on a call with you, Cheryl, I'd be like, hey, so where are you? I would just immediately ask where you are. And if you're like, oh, I'm in, where are you from, by the way? Texas? Cool. I would immediately search my data bank and go, who do I know in Texas? So I know somebody in Austin, Katy, and Dallas. So I would immediately say, you know, do you know anybody there? And you would go, Dallas. I'm like, oh, that's so awesome. Did you know that Ziglar has their headquarters there? And you would go, either I did or I didn't. I'm like, that's so cool. Well, listen, I don't want to take up this call with a bunch of stuff like this. I said, while it's important, I really want to get to know you more in that way. I want to jump in because I know your time just as much as mine is valuable. So I just shut it down, because if not, you're in a 15, 20-minute, oh, so tell me about your doggy and all this kind of stuff. It's not that it's not relevant. Not for this call, it's not. All right, cool. So I apologize about that. So let's fast forward to question number 4. This is where you get to see them think a little bit. So first question is, what are your strengths and gifts? And then I pause for a second. You don't have to write these down. And what are the dark side of those gifts? So when they say, well, one of my gifts is I love people. That's awesome. So think about it for a minute. What's the dark side of that? Now, as you all know, because you've been in the coaching realm for a little bit, you're probably yes people. And if you're a yes person, what do you not have, right? You don't have any time. So because of that, it's like, well, what's the dark side of that? It's like, oh man, never even, what you're doing is you're already having them think deeper than they've already thought before. So they're already going, this is really exciting stuff. We've only been on the phone for 10 minutes. It's crazy. And my last question is, so I read everything back, all of it. And then I go, and then I pause because I really want them to be with me. I just go, So what are you going to do about that? If you notice how uncomfortable that silence was for a second, I know how long I'm going to be quiet. They don't. I've counted to 30 in my head, just sit there staring. And they're like, you can like feel them hyperventilating. Perfect, because you're making them think. You want them to be uncomfortable. And then when you say, what are you going to do about that? They're like, oh, the better question I thought I was going to ask. Okay, cool. Phew. I'd like to do this. Cool. Would you like my insights on that? And then you can give them your insights. And it's not telling them what to do. It's allowing them to see the challenges that they're probably going to run into. And all you have to do is say, in my experience, and that's pretty much it. Everything else after that, just tell me your experience. And it could be something you read in a book because you experienced that book, right? It could be an experience that you heard on one of these calls. It could be an experience that you had with a client. It could be an experience that you actually were a client. So my experience, in order to get to that financial level, weight level, relationship level, spiritual level, career level, whatever it is, typically what happens is, and by the way, LY words work really well because they're very broad. Typically what happens is you get really excited, right? Kind of excited now. They're like, yup, totally excited right now. We get really excited. And then about 24 to 36 hours later, the excitement dies down. And then our insecurities, fears, and doubts creep back in. And they're like, what are you thinking? And then we have to deal with ourselves. And so that's typically what happens. So how can I support you with this? And I'm not asking for accountability, and I'm not asking for them to be a client. And if they say, I don't know, say, that's cool. I'll tell you what we're going to do here. We've only been on the phone now for about 15 or 20 minutes. This is kind of and then I'm just straight up authentic with them. This is my pre-enrollment call. I wanted to see where you were. Like, it's nothing personal. If we're not going to be a fit, maybe scheduling an hour call together. And they're like, mine, that'd be great. So yeah, so the next call is also going to be on me. So let's get that set up now. So they're completely enrolled in the possibility, that tiny little possibility you just helped them create. Super, really easy, genuine stuff. And one thing that I will say is that the more genuine you are, the more genuinely inquisitive you are, the better off you're going to be, because they're going to know. Because if you're like, what would you like your business / life to look like in 3 years? Question mark. They're totally going to feel it, man. I've read stuff before, and I don't do well reading. So I'm going to hit enter here. So those are the pre-enrollment questions. So what you're looking for, and I'll put these in here for you too. What you're looking for is, do you want to work with them? You want to look at their attitude? Do they inspire you? And can you help them? There you go. I don't want to inspire my clients. It's counterintuitive to what they want. If we have to inspire them to work, it's going to be a very difficult uphill battle. I want to be inspired by the person. I went there, and I'll tell them that too. Like, you know, this is really good. Man, I'm feeling this more here, so let's schedule another call. Let's have some more fun here. I've never had somebody say no. Another coaching call? Yeah, I'm in. Cool. So then I'll have them do some homework, do something. Any questions on the pre-enrollment conversation? I want to hear somebody tell me how easy it is. Nothing I do is difficult. Who just talked?
Amy, I have a question.
Yes. Who is that? Is that Amy? Got it. Cool. Hey, Amy.
Hey. So all this is a different call than when we do. I don't know. I'm kind of confused because, like, what I think I've been doing is offering a free coaching call and doing coaching with them. And this is not like a coaching call at all. Do you get into any value? Are you adding any value during this call where you help them with something, or is it really just all discovery about them to enroll them in your program?
Sure. So this is not to enroll them into a program. This is enrolling them into a possibility. So it's a great question. And as coaches, we are not advising and we're not telling them what to do. The value that we give is the questions that we ask. So when we're in a coaching call, we are, in order for us to give into the call with knowledge that we have about what they're looking to be coached on, we have to go back and learn everything that every single client of yours wants to be in. Whether it's marketing or business or anything like that. So in the coaches space, it's asking very powerful questions. So when we're talking with them, it's what's interesting, and I love this question. This is very, very awesome because a lot of people get stuck here, Amy, and I'm glad that you said this. So what's cool about it is I've coached a gentleman and he had a bike. He's an inventor. He invented something on a bicycle that clocks your speed, torque, power. I don't even know all of it. I have no idea. I never needed to know because I was asking him the questions to create something in his mind where he looks for the answers to his own questions. We're equipping people to be powerful. And so that's what I did with him. I've coached people. I don't know a lot about dentistry. I'm coaching 2 dentist offices right now. And I use them. I'm like, what's missing? Where are the blind spots? What kind of challenges and issues are you guys dealing with? What's happening here on a daily basis? And they say, well, I'm dealing with this. I'll say, cool. So what's your solution here? Yes, Amy.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I do have a question.
I thought you were going to say something, and I yeah, go for it.
No, I was waiting. I was just sorry. So I'm a parent coach, and I tell people how to fix their problems, and they get a lot of value out of it, and it works. I got a lot of great feedback. Not enrolling a lot of people though, not enrolling anyone. So I don't know. I'm just kind of processing. I tried asking questions after we had our last teaching with you, and it doesn't get me where I want to go unless I just put the words in their mouth and say, well, what if you tried this? But what I'm doing is changing their mindset completely about how they view parenting because they've been taught wrong. So I'm re-teaching them. And so I have a lot of teachings, and I am a teacher. And so I get on the calls and I like teach fire hose for an hour, and they walk away, and within 24 hours, I'm getting, I can't believe this. This is amazing. Things are done in 180. So should I reposition my approach to just finding out, like using these questions, where they want to be, where how they want their kids to be, how they want things to be that aren't now, and then
Sure.
Go through kind of the rest of the questions from that angle.
Yeah, so I have not coached specifically with children, but the kids always come up. So what I've done in the past, and you know, your level of expertise is probably well beyond my educational scope in that. So I have to ask questions to have that person move on it. So I can give you a specific example. I'll just say a guy and his kids, so you'll never know who it is. So what happened was his 14-year-old was being quite unruly. And I said, well, how do you want him to act? And he said, well, what do you mean? I said, well, how would you like him to be? And it was in public. And he goes, like, I would like this. I'm like, cool. So can you look back? Because our kids, they do learn. So do you have any idea where that influence could have come from? And then it went from talking about his 14-year-old to his behavior in public and how he would lose his temper. It went from talking to his 14-year-old to how he has acted in public, because his dad was being the model, and he didn't even realize that his parents were being the influence on him. And it just came from questions. I was just asking him questions. So I said, because our kids, they you know, as you know, Amy, I'm sure that, you know, we all have learned behavior. So we learned it from somewhere. So the question is where did it come from? And a lot of times, you know, when I'm having this dialogue with the parent, they take a step back and they go, oh my gosh. And I've done the same thing. I see these, I'm like, I don't have to ask. I know it was from me. So I have to step on my own hypocrisy and say, hey guys, I know I've done that in the past. I'm working on myself as well. So I get that. So when I'm having that conversation with the parents and they're talking about their kids, I want to know what's the origin? When did it start? What changed? What happened? And did you see it coming, or is it something that was gradual? Was there an environmental change? All these kind of things that you probably already know. You probably already know half the answers to the questions I'm even asking. Does that make sense?
About is like that much of my program. It's this very small piece of it. Anyway, I don't like time, but I'm just thinking out loud. I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you.
Oh, no, I appreciate that. Thank you for bringing that up. Anybody pick up? Anybody's thinking the same thing? Sometimes you just want to tell them.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I get that.
Steve, may I ask a question? Lorraine?
Yes, and then Bethany.
So you're doing 2 calls this discovery to see if you guys are compatible with these questions. How do we frame that in when we're talking to prospective clients? Like, do we offer that 15-20 minute chat and then a discovery free coaching call? Like,
okay, so great question. Thank you for that, Lorraine. So again, my fault. So getting the person from what's up to a phone call or a Zoom call, there's no magic to it. So as we all know, if you scroll through social media, people air their stuff all the time. I mean, if you just want to mess around on Facebook and pick up clients all day long, you can. It depends on, like I said, what pool are you going to play in? So when you see somebody, our natural inclination would be to, hey, I can help you with that. Well, a lot of times people don't want to be helped. They don't even know that they want to be helped, because the reason they post it on social media is because everybody justifies how they're being. So when I come in and I see something, I'm like, it's leading with empathy. So if I saw you, Lorraine, and you were like, man, I've been having the roughest time with this whole whatever's happening in the world right now, I would message you immediately. I'd never do anything in public. I'd message you and say, hey, I saw your post. I'm sorry you're dealing with that. You know, I can't imagine what that's like. And then they're like, man, it's been so this, and this. And I'll immediately respond with a question. I'm going to look for a question. You know, it could be something as simplistic as, you know, how have you been dealing with it? What have you been doing so far? Okay. Well, I've been doing this. I'm like, cool. Has it worked? So I want to start drawing some responses out of them, because a lot of times we'll have an issue and something will work and then something will trip us up and we won't go back to it. It's almost like we forgot.
Okay.
And then I'll say, and they say, 99% of the time, Lorraine, the person will say, what do you do? Why are you asking me so many questions? I'm like, oh, I'm just really inquisitive. I said, I am a coach. However, when I saw your post, I couldn't not say anything.
I wanted to help.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Thank you.
I avoid that. You're welcome. I avoid the word help as much as I can. Because I don't want anybody to think they're broken or they need fixing.
Okay.
Because nobody's broken. None of us need fixing. We're just people with some stuff.
True.
And then I'll say, if they say, well, what do you do? Say, listen, I'd be more than happy to jump on a call. I've had lots of conversations around this area. And then you can make a decision whether you do that call right there that we just did or a full-on call that we'll talk about in a few minutes here.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Does that help more than one? Cool. Bethany had her hand up, and then I see Linda, and then we'll do Rafi.
I just had, I have a question, but I had kind of like a comment based on what Amy was talking about. I think, Amy, part of your question gets to the root of like the philosophy of learning and education and people's own self-growth and processing. So it's a matter of like the difference of teaching versus coaching, and like the Socratic method and Jesus' method with people was he was a storyteller and he was a question asker. And so I think some of you on here know I've been training for the last 2 years as a spiritual director, and spiritual direction is all about learning how to ask good questions. And if you don't feel confident in that, listen to the Holy Spirit. Like, he shows up and he'll just like drop stuff. And I'm sure, Steve, that's been your experience. But then my question with it is, how much, like in a typical coaching session for you and your experience, how much of it has been like percentage wise questions versus are there moments where you do find yourself teaching or giving advice, and like what's the balance of that?
Perfect question. I love it. So I would say it's easy, an easy 80+% reflective inquiry and question. Any teaching that I do, I don't teach them anything specific. I'm talking to them about a philosophy.
Okay.
A way of thinking. I teach way of thinking more than I do teach them how to do something. Now, if they said if they know that I'm a marketer and they know that I know how to do marketing on social media or whatever, and they say, hey, so would you help me with this? I'm like, yeah, sure. If we have time at the end, yeah, that's no problem at all.
Yeah, that's helpful.
It's helpful. My notes.
Yeah, it's helpful for me because I've had a hard time reconciling spiritual direction with coaching, because that's the world I've been in for the last 2 years, and it's actually very similar with a similar approach, and so that's just helpful. So thank you.
Cool, awesome. I read a lot back to people. Thank you for that. That was a good question. You guys have great questions. Linda.
Hi.
It is Joy. Yes, Linda. Hi.
So, I'm really remedial in all of this coaching stuff. Although I'm a professional question asker because I'm an executive and sales recruiter. So that's what I do for a living. And so asking a lot of questions comes really easy to me. What I'm kind of curious about is, it sounds like you're doing a lot of sleuthing and then reaching out to people just randomly through every walk of life to catch them in your net as a possible client or prospect by doing these calls, as opposed to having a real strategic approach to the marketing, or because here's where I'm at. I'm still doing sales and recruiting. And so I need to start, catching a few fish in my net, but I don't have all of my marketing tools going just yet. So are you following where I'm coming from?
Exactly, yes.
Okay.
So perfect. Cool. Good. Do you want me to go?
Go.
Okay, awesome, perfect. So the reason I said what I said about reaching out to people like that is that while we are marketing and while we're doing attraction marketing and all that kind of fun stuff, it's good to have conversations. So I do a plethora of all of it. I don't do any more paid advertising anymore. I don't do any marketing. I show up on Facebook. I haven't been doing a lot of it lately because I'm kind of full right now. However, I show up on my page and I know, like, so hold on a second here. I have a book and I'd like to show you the cover of it so you can see it. And maybe I won't be able to. Oh, here it is. So there's different coaching books, and you know, you take what you want. I don't think Ron will be upset that I showed you all the book. There's a book called The Coach's Casebook. And what I dig about these kinds of books is that it has different issues that people deal with. So this one's imposter syndrome. Where are we here? Imposter syndrome, different by fear, perfectionism, procrastination, performance anxiety, coping with loss, people pleasing, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I know that I don't, in my marketing, I go for psychographics more than I do for demographics. So what I mean by that is what I am, you have to yell at me, dude, I got it right here. So it's, I don't know how close I can get it. There we go. So I am looking more of what are they thinking? What is my ideal person? How do they think? And what is that person dealing with? So I know right now the executive world is dealing with a lot of imposter syndrome because of the stuff that's happening in our economy. So I know imposter syndrome. I can go on for weeks and weeks and weeks about that content because it's everywhere. The author of the book is Jeff Watts and Kim Morgan. And I'm just going to show you Jeff's name because I'm not going to. Got it? It's a thick one. If you're not a big reader, if you don't like reading, it can be a little dry, but their case studies are incredible.
Hey, Steve,
oh, yeah.
For a second?
Hey. Yes. Hey, Ron.
I heard marketing, so I had to jump in. So one of the things that I'm always doing, even though I have, funnels and ads and YouTube videos to produce clients, is I'm always talking to people on Facebook, on social media, YouTube, LinkedIn. Some of my best clients have been through Facebook Messenger conversations. And all of my clients are entrepreneurs, coaches, business owners. So it doesn't matter whether you're health coaching, whether you're B2B, you're coaching dentists or executives or mom, like it doesn't matter. That person is on Facebook. That person is on YouTube. Wherever you are online, they are there as well. Like we want to have an abundance mentality, and it's one thing I love that Steve said, I heard Steve say, is he focuses on the psychographics more than the demographics. And I totally agree with that full-heartedly, because it's what's happening up here and in here that is the reason why the person needs you. So having those conversations to open somebody up and see if they're open to solving their problem or getting, coaching with that. Those conversations are great. You learn that skill set. You can create clients anywhere. I've created clients in a coffee shop, almost at the airport. A lot of great conversations. I'm sure Steve does that all the time. So hopefully that helps.
Thanks, brother. So back to what we were saying, I know that if my content is around something that I know my ideal person is dealing with, they're automatic. Have you ever watched somebody's video and you're going, man, they're talking right to me. It's crazy. They're literally describing me right now. That's exactly how I want to talk to them. And here's the funny thing. 9 times out of 10, I'm either dealing with it or I've dealt with it. So I just have a conversation with myself out loud as I'm coming up with the solution to whatever I had dealt with or whatever I'm dealing with. Those are usually my lives. So the answer, I think, 3 questions on that one, was that I dabble in social media marketing, more of a attraction marketing model. I also have conversations with people on and offline. And I'll spark it up. I'm going to tell you how I spark it up when I'm out. So I'll show you how simplistic it is. Did that help at all, Linda?
Yeah. Thank you.
We're gonna do some mock stuff in here in a few minutes. Oh, right on, man. If any don't, and here's the thing, I have to beg of some people sometimes. If I don't answer your question and you're like, man, it was close enough. I don't like close enough. I'm not a close enough person. I'm not a grenade. let's get down to the nitty gritty with it. So I'm totally cool with all of it. Rafi.
So I just had a quick comment, more of a question, more than a question, but like in the sales world, there's an old adage that people will buy all day long, but they don't like to be sold to. And then when it comes to influencing people, whether it's just in everyday life or in an actual sale, I know one of the most effective ways to get a really strong sale, like a great buyer, is to have them arrive at a conclusion that you'd like them to arrive to by leading them there, so they compute in their own head instead of you saying it like outright. And when you were talking about asking good questions earlier, I felt like there was a little element of that in there. Like if people can perhaps learn better or like transform that much more effective if they come to their own synthesis by the question instead of like pointing to an answer.
Oh, I thought I was muted still. Yeah, I don't want to influence them at all with my questions. I don't want any leading. I don't want to do any leading questions. So I have a lot of sales. I have a lot of sales in my background. I have a lot of background sales training too, and I've done that before. And sometimes it's not sometimes, it's all the time. We are leading that client down to the result that we want them to have. And I've done that in the past and it's come back and I didn't realize I was doing it. So I ask very open questions, so how do you feel about that kind of questions? Does that make sense?
I think so.
We'll get more into it. But thank you for that. And because that's something we have to be really careful of. That was actually a very powerful statement. I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Yes, sir. So, where was I? Oh, yes. So once we're past that part and we're into the conversation. So the 20-minute conversation is like if you meet somebody somewhere. So I'll go through, all right. So I'll give you a real life example. And I was having I had 20 kids over. I taught cross country at the boys' school. And I brought all the kids over to have a swim party and their parents came over. So I started talking to one of the dads. And I was like, what do you do anyways? What do you do for a living? He's like, oh, he's an ortho surgeon. I don't know. He does teeth extractions. He does all kinds of mouth surgery. I don't know everything he exactly does. And to show you how much I don't need to know. And I said, oh my gosh, that sounds incredible. I was like, what is that in? Well, his wife's the orthodontist. He does mouth surgery. Just leave it there. And so I was like, wow, that sounds incredible. I was like, what does that entail? He told me a little bit of it. I said, so running that business, what kind of challenges does that bring up? So that was my very first question. Endodontist. I never would have got it. Thank you, Gloria. So it's interesting. And all of a sudden he went, it's funny. The challenges aren't necessarily with the patients. The challenges are with my staff. I was like, oh, that's interesting. Tell me a little bit more about that. And he told me a little bit more about that. And I said, that's cool. I said, and I basically was like, well, what are you doing about it? He's like, oh, I talk to them and they give me pushback. And I go, do you have any other solutions besides replacing your entire staff? And he's like, well, I honestly have no idea what to do. He goes, wait a minute, hold on a second here. What do you do? And I said, the challenges that you just brought up, that's exactly how I work with people. And he said, well, how does it work? I said, we're at a party right now. I said, but I'd be more than happy to hang out with you for about an hour. So I skipped past a 20-minute call because I already knew. And all I did was we sat down for about an hour, probably I think a half a dozen times. And that led to a mid-5-figure contract over 6 months. And I'm working with his staff. And it's all around efficiency and productivity, and has nothing to do with making them run faster. It has nothing to do with the numbers, nothing to do with any of that stuff. All I'm doing is working with them on their communication with each other. That's it. It's been the last 2 months. So that's how quickly you can do it. You know, when I'm standing around having a conversation with somebody, I mean, good Lord, it could be at Walmart, it could be anywhere. And you know, you spark up a conversation, or if you're at a friendly place, a friendly environment like church, and don't you normally ask people what they do? I do all the time. I'm always curious. And I always ask the same question: what kind of challenges does that bring? Oh my gosh, let me tell you. And I'm like, yeah, I got time, bring it. And I'm listening. I'm like, can I handle this? I don't know if I want. That sounds crazy. Whew. And I'm done with the conversation. I'm like, I don't even know if I want to put my hands in that. So it's, yes, I'll talk about, that's a great question. Thank you for bringing that back up, Bethany. But that's how I'm making it sound simplistic because that's kind of all I've been doing. I have not actively sought after a client in probably about 18 months. I'm just hanging out, doing things, and all I'm doing is having conversations with people. It's not because I want them as a client. I'm inquisitive with people. I'm inquisitive with every person that comes around me. Because isn't it nice when somebody asks you a question and they allow you to talk without waiting for you to stop talking so they can tell you about themselves? I just listen to people all the time. You'd be amazed at some of the stuff people will tell you. It's pretty incredible. Cool. All right. Did you say you gave him, that was not him, that was a different person? That was my, actually, it's funny, I'm in the medical field. I was a pharmaceutical, a CEO in a pharmaceutical company. And I just wasn't ready. She came to me for network marketing help, Bethany. And I listened to her talk and I'm like, something bigger here. There's something way bigger here. And I said, yeah, we're going to get into freelance questions in a second. I want to stay with the structure because some of y'all are really new. Are you guys cool with that? All right. You guys digging this so far? Not one person's giving me the finger, so I'm good, man. Super doing great. Okay, so I'm going to give you this. I don't know if Ron's cool with it. I'll ask him if I don't have to redesign it without my name on the top. You see how old and wrinkly this is? It's because I don't memorize these on purpose. And there's a reason behind that, because I need to be present with my person. I don't want to have to remember the wording of a question. So I literally will pull this out and put this on my desk. When I'm done with it, it goes right back in my top drawer. So these are going to be very, very familiar. So if you've already done a 20-minute call with the person, you say, so when we spoke the first time, you said you wanted this, this, and this. Have you done any reflection on that? And they're going to go, yeah. Say, what else came up for you? So you would use that instead of this first question on what to ask. Is that very clear? Cool. So I don't like asking, it says, what are your goals? And then the second question is, what are you looking to create over the next 12 to 18 months? I like the second question better. Use what you're comfortable with. So I create things. I'm more of a create thing than I am a doer. I like to create stuff. So it's like, so what are you looking to create over the next 12 to 18 months? Well, what do you mean? I don't know. What do you think it means? Like, I don't give a whole lot. I want them, here's the issue that we're dealing with in society is that we're being told so much what to do. Our active thinking is just going away. So the more we press people to think, the more they're going to show up powerfully for their family, their friends, their husband, their wife, their kids, because they're not being that person that's waiting for the answer to come to them from somebody else. They're actively thinking more. They're seeing differently. They're open to more conversation. They're having deeper, respectful conversations with their husbands and their wives. It's very powerful. Anyways, so this is where I get to frustrate my client on the very first call, or the second one if we did a pre-enrollment call. So I'll say, all right, great, that's amazing. It's usually, I'd like to be out of debt. I like to have a better relationship with my husband and my wife. I'd like to be in better shape. Those are pretty surface level stuff. I'm like, oh, cool, and I'll write it down. I'm like, all right, awesome. So what else? And then once they go through the what else once, I ask them my third what else is, can you elaborate on that? No matter what they say. If they said, I want to get more physically fit, cool. Can you elaborate on that for me? Cool. And we keep going and going and going. I'm like, awesome. So I write it down. I read it all back. And I go, so what else? And this is about where you start seeing a little bit of frustration come up. And I write that down. I'm like, cool, man, this sounds amazing. So this is number 5, I think we're on. Cool. So, man, what else would you like to create over the next 18 months? And if I say it with a smile, they usually hold back their words, and then they give me something else. By time the second to last one comes out, I say these words. So, yeah, I'm pretty sure you're frustrated with me right now. So my next question is just going to increase that. So let's just get that out of the way now. I'm like, so what else? And they're like, oh my word. Okay, yep, you're right. I'm more frustrated with you. Okay. I've never had anybody get mad at me, because with your inflections in your voice and how you talk, and they know that you're there to help, not be a jerk about it. They love you for it. And then I usually dig them one more time. I'm like, all right, so we're going to seal this. And what I'm looking for is this. This is what I'm looking for. And you'll see it. Man, you know what I really want? Yeah, this is what I want. It's exactly what I want to hear. I'm not speaking that, just listening. What I really want, Steve, is I really want this. See, that sounds amazing. I can get behind that. That sounds awesome. So let me ask you this question. You want this, 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 and this, and you really want this. What do you feel or think the benefits are of reaching this or these goals? And now you're getting them in the, now you're going from question answer to state of mind. So now you're taking them to that state, right? And that's the question number 2. And I'm going to give you this document, so you can write them down if you want to. Unless you want to, you can go out and do it tonight. I'm just saying. And then how long have you had these goals? And I think the shortest I've ever had was 6 months. The closest to that was 5 years. That's a long time to want something and not have it. That means they've been trying, right? Trying. It's like trying to drop this pen. Nope, you dropped it. You didn't try to drop it. You just, yeah. So it's like, wow. So this question's not on here, but I'm going to give you the second one I always ask after this one. What have you tried so far? And then now you get an idea of where they are with it. When you're sitting here and you're taking them through these questions, you're literally helping them create a plan from where they are, what they want, to where they want to be. If they walked away from you and never spoke to you again, you literally changed the whole life of these questions. So what do you feel you would need to know to create this? And they're going to tell you, I'm going to need to know this, this, and this, and this, and this. Now, if you're present with them, you're actually creating a coaching curriculum from everything that's happening on this call right here. Because they're telling you what they don't know, they're telling you what they want, they're telling you everything they have. So we see this, there's a lot of slashes on here. Just choose the language that you use. So those feels and thinks on here. So I'm a feeling person. So what do you feel? If I know that I'm talking to a thinker, I will use the word think, but don't worry about it. Just use your own language until you start picking that stuff up. So what do you think would be the very first or next step you want to take from here? Now, most people, I'm just going to tell you this now, and I put this in here so we know, they're probably going to tell you, I don't know. It's like, all right, man, no big deal. What that's coming from is coming from a place of right and wrong. You know how, remember in school when you raised your hand and you got the answer wrong and everybody laughed? Well, that was probably the last time a lot of people raised their hand in school. And that's when we stopped asking questions because we don't want to be wrong. That felt terrible. So we just keep our mouth shut. So all you do is you say something very simplistic. Well, if you had to guess, what would it be? Oh, shoot, if I had to guess. Then they tell you all kinds of neat stuff. They already have the plan in their head. It's awesome. And that's when I use, this is where step number 6 comes in and say, are you okay with me sharing my insights? Now this goes back to, I believe, Linda, possibly Linda, a little bit of Amy, and some of Rafi. Little tiny bit of Bethany. Was, are you okay with me sharing my insights here? And they go, yeah, cool. So in the past, and then you give them a story. And you let them know that what they're going to be in for. You had told me that you've been looking to get physically fit for 5 years. So here's probably what's happening. And this is where we get to teach, Amy. Where we get to teach them and show them what's happening. Open their mind up a little bit to let them know that they're normal. You know that you're gonna get 3 weeks into your fitness program, you're gonna find yourself with the refrigerator open. Just so you know. And when you do that, just laugh at yourself and be like, oh my gosh, look what I'm doing. I'm totally sabotaging myself. And shut the door and walk away. And let it be a normal occurrence instead of going, oh, what's wrong with me? And then you do what I used to do and just keep eating because eating made me feel better. So it's just interesting. Next question would be, when would you like to accomplish this goal? I do get that here and there, Laura. When would you like to accomplish this goal? Now, we established in the beginning that it's 12 to 18 months. Normally, when people tell me their goals, we can do it in 6. They don't see it. That's all. It's have to help them see it. So when they tell you, say, cool. So as you're going through this, and I'm gonna help with the spur of the moment questions in a moment here, because I think this is what's really gonna help solidify and bring these coaching sessions together for y'all. So what do you feel the benefits of us working together on this would be? And then they're going to tell you the benefits of you guys working together. It's outstanding. They're going to totally sell themselves to you. And I know Rafi knows that one. It's an easy one. And you're going to go, that's amazing. Sad. Man, that was even more than I thought. That's awesome. So I'm really glad that you got a lot out of this. It really seems like you did. And they're nodding the whole entire time. And you say, well, would you like to know what that would look like? And they go, yeah, I think I would. So I'm going to take you through my closing. It's very, very simplistic. It's 5 words. First word is vision. So what I'll do is I'm going to speak it. We are recording, so I'm going to speak it exactly how I say it every single time. Very simplistic. So here's the thing. I'll use, who's in the middle? I'll use Terry. Terry, you're right in the middle of my Zoom. I can look right at you. I'll be like, all right, Terry, so here's what we're going to do. That vision that we just created, it's such a tiny piece of what we're actually going to create. So that's going to be the number one thing that's going to constantly pop up. It's going to be ever evolving. So expect it to grow. So I'm going to need your patience there as we continue to grow it. You have to trust the process as we continue to bring that vision to fruition. Is that cool? And she's going to say probably yes. Now, as you know, there's always a process to everything because you're here, you want to get here. The only thing that is missing is the process. So we're going to put a process together, you and me. And again, that's going to be ever evolving. We're going to have a 90-day, 3-month to 6-month process here. However, it's going to shift every 7 to 14 days because you might go faster. We have no idea. However, it's going to be with you the entire time. Mindset is the fun one. As you know, insecurities, fears, and doubts, man, they come up all over the place. So as we start moving through this journey, we start going to realms and spaces you've never been before, your mind's going to go, are you sure? And that will probably be the nicest thing that will pop up. right? So we're going to handle that as it comes. In fact, you're going to have my cell phone number. If you don't text me when that happens, that is totally on you, man. So we're going to make sure that we have an open line of communication. Number 4 is skill set. As we walk through, it's different from the process. You might need to learn a new skill set. You're not doing this on your own. I have you on the entire journey. Whatever that skill set is, I will do the research with you, and we will get you fully equipped. Even if I have to bring another person in to have a conversation with you, we're going to have this work. This is going to work in that skill set price. And then we have number 5. This is our energy. Energy is a very powerful thing. We know that we have people that are energy takers and energy givers. We're going to manage that together because we can't always control who we're around. So this is what's going to happen. It's not about kicking people out of your house. It's not about ignoring your family members or anything like that. It's about how do we manage that energy? How do we manage the conversation in our head so we can actually be around the people that are a little cross sometimes. So as those are all together, it's not 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 process. These work together over the next 6 months that we're going to be working together. So that's how I bring that in. And then I say, and then if you really need all the details, yes, I'll record it. Are we going to meet every week? I don't know. For the first 3 to 4 weeks, it's going to be every week. And then we're probably going to go every other week from there. But we're going to take it week to week because we never really know what's going to happen. You might say, it's a ton of homework, Steve. I need 3 weeks for this. And then we'll discuss that as that comes. And I'm going to record it, and I do keep all my notes in a place. I'm not going to have them all over the place. I use Trello.com for all the details and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, so that's about it. And I usually trail off a little bit, let them know I'm thinking. I'll be like, so, yeah, that's about it, man. So that vision is powerful here. So I'm looking forward to getting into this. Any questions? So if you notice one thing I didn't talk about. Yeah. I want them to ask me. Because to me, money's not the problem. Money and price, it's never the issue, ever. So they're going to go, yeah. So I'm afraid to ask, Steve, how much? I'm like, oh, yeah. And I got so excited for a second. I said, yeah. So everything there is, I don't know, I'll make up a number. Everything there is $6,500 for the next 6 months. And you've got to practice your numbers. Practice them. Talk to them in the mirror. Do it while you're driving in your car. Do it while you're walking around the house. Let the numbers flow off the tip of your tongue. You'd be terrified to say, $495. Oh yeah, it's only $495. I was almost sucking the words back into my mouth. And now it's, $6, $7, $8, $10, $20,000. It's like you let it roll. And then they say, well, that's not the budget I had. Cool. I don't renege on my number. I don't pull back on it. I leave it exactly where it is. I say, well, if you did in payments, would that work? Yeah, that would work. Cool. How long can we do it over? I'd prefer to do it in the 6 to 7 months we'll be working together. Huh. Well, I don't know if I could do that. All right, I'll tell you what we'll do. I use this example like my coach did with me. I will tell them if the money that you're going to put down, if it takes food out of your family's mouth, it's too much. So what I want you to be is uncomfortable and continue to feed your family. So I need you to come up with that number. And to be honest with you, I need you to really be in this with me because this is a 200% relationship. I will show up 100% for you every single time. I'm going to ask you to do the same thing. And if they're married, I have them talk to their husband or wife. That's for me. If they haven't already done it, that's for me is a must. Some people don't like that happening. Some people are against it in the sales calls. You guys have to come up with your own thing. For me, it's an absolute 100% must because I want them both on board. I actually had a husband say, you can't outgrow me. So you wouldn't let her in the coaching program. So we had to have a different conversation. So they come back. I usually give them 2 days. And then I tell them these words here. So here's what's going to happen, Terry. So you're excited right now, probably in a high state of being, feeling really great about this whole future we're in, right? We created this amazing stuff. We're starting to put a process together. Cool with all the numbers. You're just going to talk to your husband about it. Totally got it. You're going to wake up tomorrow and something's going to happen. You're going to start going, can I do this? It's a lot of money. Can I handle this per month? Oh my gosh. And everything else is going to pop up. That's called pre-buyer's remorse. And I make a joke out of it because it's going to be funny. And I say, so here's what I'm going to tell you. I'm not going to tell you I'm not going to tell you to commit. But what I am going to say is this. That's a cycle that continues to show up in your life when you get uncomfortable, you get scared, and you back out. Happens to a lot of people. My question for you is this. What have you missed out on every other time that you backed out of something like that? That it completely could have changed your life. And I'm not going to ask you, I'm not going to say this will or won't. I just needed to be with it. That's all. Is this a cycle that is keeping me from living the most extraordinary life possible? That's all. Hang out with that. And if you still decide not to do it, I'm totally cool with it. Because I need you to be 100% in. Cool with that? And I've never had, actually, I'll tell you one person's response was just kind of funny. I've never had anybody go, no, that's stupid. They're always like, wow, thank you for that. Typically, people want me to give them money right away. I'm like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to just take your money because you're excited. Because excitement wears away. Commitment stays. I work with committed people. People that are ready to transform their entire life. So if that's you, awesome. We will run until we can't run anymore. But if this isn't your time, I'm cool with it. Only once did somebody call me the next day, a day before. Steve, I am freaking out right now. Everything you said is happening. I need to give you money immediately because I need to sign this contract. You need to send me the paperwork right this very second. And I can hear her husband laughing in the background. That was the one time I made an exception and sent out the paperwork early. That was kind of funny. So, before we go any further, you're doing so good on time. Before we go any further, what kind of questions are coming up? I know people have questions. Oh, thanks, Gloria. Not one question? Is this easy? Am I making it easy so far? I'm hoping so. Do you guys want to know the most incredibly simplistic? Do you have people back out once they commit? Oh, yeah, all the time. What's that, Bethany? Oh, totally. Yeah. I had a guy back on me yesterday. I thought I thought 100% yes. It actually dinged me for about 20 minutes. I couldn't believe it. I'm like, man, I can't believe this is getting to me. Yeah, he's like, oh, I found another teacher, another coach that was a better fit. I'm like, oh, better fit than me? I'm kidding. There are lots of better coaches than me, and that's cool too. I don't want to. It's just life. There's a really neat. If you want to have a structure for your coaching calls from here to the day that you stop, I've been using the same structure for 7 years. Once I get their goals in, my very first question, I usually do 2 minutes of small talk because people want to talk. I'm like, hey, what's up? Tell me about your week. And just, it's a lot of stuff. And I watch the clock very, very close. I'm like, cool, Matt, that's awesome. So let me stop here for a second. I thought I heard a win in there. Can you give me some wins? So my very first structure part of the call are the wins. And I have them, I want people, I don't care if they're like, man, I'm regular again. I'm pooping better. I don't care what their win is. It doesn't matter to me. I want to win anything they got. So we go through that. And then I ask them the same question. What did you do to celebrate these? So eventually after about 5 or 6 weeks, they're like, these are my wins and this is how I celebrated them. So you're making a shift only from doing that. And that's usually anywhere from 5 to 7 minutes. I'm like, that's incredible. What a great week you had. Man, awesome. So what kind of challenges popped up for you this week? And then we go through the challenges. Now, I have a rule when I'm working with a client: you are not allowed to bring a challenge without a solution. And I don't care what the solution is. We got to bring something, because I don't want them to rely on me for the rest of their life. I want them to be set up to when we're done, they just run with their life and create whatever they want to create. So they bring their challenges, and they're like, man, sometimes I get a challenge. Like a gentleman came to me last week, and unfortunately, one of his good friends, he's a military vet. One of the guys he's been on several tours with committed suicide, and he didn't know what to do. And I was like, man. So we kind of talked that out, and because I didn't know how to answer his question, because I'm not there. And so what I did was I started running through my data bank in my head, and I'm like, I know two people. One is running a suicide awareness, a nonprofit organization, and I said I have another one that helps military veterans with PTSD. I'd be more than happy to hook you up with them. And he's like, oh, that's awesome. So it immediately lifted what was holding him down in 15 minutes of the call, and then for another 45 minutes, we were able to just crush things. Challenges, wins, challenges, and then what did you learn from the challenges? I like that one as well. And then, so your tasks here. I always give tasks, and I have a checklist inside of Trello. They have to check them off. I'm like, I see that you got 3 out of your 5 tasks done, so tell me about the other 2. And then we talk about them. Sometimes it's resistance, sometimes it's not, whatever's happening. I'm like, great, so what are we going to do over the next 7 to 14 days? Are you specializing in a specific niche? Good question. I'm going to come back to that one. So so that's a lot of what's going from personal experience, unless you're coaching into this area, a lot of family drama can come up. I don't answer family drama because it's always one person's perception. Yeah. So I'm not able to help, but I am great at asking questions to get that person to see the other person's perspective. So I'm going to answer your question really quick, Rafi, and I'm going to come back into how do you come up with questions on the spot, because that's where this is going to come in. Oh, I love it, Lorraine. If they don't do their tasks, we have a great conversation. So Rafi, I started off in marketing and sales. And then I basically did all sales training for almost 2 years. That's kind of where that sat. And then I backed out of it. And then I wanted to understand, how does our mind work? Like, why do we buy things? Why do we sell things? Why do we love? Why do we hate? Why do we smile? Why do we laugh? Why do we frown? So I started going through and understanding that. So that's probably more, if anything else, is probably more of a niche of communication. Does that make sense? Yeah, I got the spins. Hang on, can you hang on a second here? Sorry about that. All of a sudden, everything started spinning. Whew. What if they don't do the tasks? Oh, I'm so glad you heard me. Man, all of a sudden, everything started spinning on me. Whew. I'm ready. Where was I? Oh, yes. So if they don't do their tasks, I don't typically attack the tasks. Yes, thank you for that, Rafi. Oh, man. That little tiny 1/4 ounce of water I drank came right out of my head. Like, I started sweating immediately. If they don't do their tasks, I don't attack the tasks. I ask them where else in their life are they not accountable. Because I want to know where, and I don't like the words falling apart. Where are they falling apart? You know, where are they not being for themselves? And, you know, because the reason that, Alexa, turn my lights off. You do have Alexa. Here we go. Okay. Sweet. Good call. Who said that? Thanks, Laura. So I won't let them off the hook on that, because I have had people that have come to me and said, Steve, I spent $20,000 in coaching last year and nothing came out of it. My very first question was, well, how did your tasks go? And what's different now? What's different here than it was last month or last year or with your last coach? Well, I want to show up this time. Great. Well, you told me you were going to show up and you haven't done one task. So let's have a conversation about that. So what's happening? I used to say what's more important. That can make people feel bad. And I don't use guilt coaching at all. I think that's horrendous. We should never do that. Make somebody feel bad. That brings up old past habits. Yes, Rafi.
So I just had because you're talking about accountability, and it just it jogged something in my mind. The first coaching experience I ever had, it wasn't too deep, and it was just like a short experience. But I remember the two major benefits I got was having someone to like kind of like a sounding board almost that I could talk to, and they understood me, and they reflected back to me. But even more so, accountability, like to have someone to report back to that I succeeded in what I said I would do, just made me turn me into a top performer out of nowhere. I just wanted to make sure that, we do so much more for another than we will for ourselves. And do you build that into your coaching style, like over the program and stuff? Or?
Yes.
Is it just naturally or is it like explicitly?
It happens naturally. And I swear, do you know Tom Ziegler?
Zig Ziglar or
described Tom is his son Tom.
Oh, okay, no, I don't, but I guess I know his dad.
You literally just described one of his clients to me as yourself. That's why I was asking. He said that when they were coaching, at first, all of a sudden the client said, "Man, it's so crazy. When I first started coaching with you, I didn't want to show up not having my task done because I didn't want to let you down. And then it turned into I didn't want to let myself down. And then I realized that I'm doing it because it just simply needs to be done."
Yeah.
So there was these three phases of what happens. And that happens naturally. And he said that story to tell that it happens naturally. Because you can't disappoint me. We can't be disappointed as coaches. Setting an expectation for our clients will doom them. Because we should never have an expectation that anything's going to show up anywhere. Just that they're going to be on the call. That's it. I've come on the call with my coaches before, and I've been full-on breakdown. Like, what's wrong? I'm like, I don't even know. I'm just crying. I can't stop crying. I know what's happening right now. It's craziness. And they're like, all right, well, let's talk about this. What the heck is going on with you? So it's, that happens sometimes. So anyways, I hope that answered your question, Rafi.
That was good.
I don't know if that was a question, but that was a very powerful insight.
Thanks.
So as you're sitting with your clients and stuff comes up, right? Because it's inevitable. Things are going to be outside your space of coaching, and you can make a decision on the moment. Say, this is a little bit outside my niche, and you can just straight tell them. However, I do know somebody who's a professional in this area, or you can ask them enough questions where they start seeing it for themselves. And the only way we can ask questions is if we're being overly present. You're going to be so present with the person, with them. Having my phone here like this is making me nuts because this is a distraction from me, from you guys. However, I'm on it, so I got to talk into it. So it's sitting here staring at me. I'm doing my best to pretend that it doesn't exist. So when we're sitting here and you're listening to that person, you're listening for the story that's being told, not by the words, but by the story. So when when your client says, "Man, I just couldn't get my tasks done," I'm like, all right. So you couldn't 100%, no time. So tell me what happened. I just didn't have the time. All right, cool. So no time at all, not like 10 minutes. Well, I mean, I probably could have had 10 minutes. All right, cool. So was there any of these you could have done then? Well, let me open them up again and take a look. So what did you use here? Anybody catch it?
They never looked at it the whole week.
Never looked at it. I'd rather than tell me they forgot. Man, Steve, I just forgot. Perfect. That's awesome. No problem. So how can I support you and hold you? Now I have to say the word accountable. How can I hold you accountable now? Some of my clients, I email them notes. I don't wait for them to go in Trello. I copy their task, put it in an email, notes from today, I date it, put my name on it, put their name on it, and I send it out. So there's no way they can be out of it.
So Steve, it's Lorraine.
Yep.
If
Lorraine.
someone keeps forgetting,
Yep.
or it's habitual, or is there a limit of time that you give them to whatever their reason is for, unless it was an illness or something, that these tasks aren't being done? And if so, what do you do or say?
So I haven't had anybody do that in an incredibly long time. So what I'll do is I'll knock them down. I'll knock down the task list. I'll give them one.
Okay.
Just one task.
Okay.
I had found out in the beginning that not everybody works like I work, and having 10 tasks a week, not everybody responds well for that. It took me a long time to understand that in the very beginning of this whole profession, this career, whatever I started back in 2014. And I just didn't think about it. I'm like, come on, we got stuff to do. We got goals, man. Let's rock. And meanwhile, they open the list, and the list might as well have 5,000 things on it. They just look at it, and their mind automatically starts spinning, and they say, I don't have time to touch this. And they walk away from it.
Okay.
Instead of saying, that one would take 5 minutes, that one would take 20 minutes, I could probably do 1 or 2 right now. So we just knock them down into one. And one task usually works, and then next week we do 2. And then we just start adding on to it.
Thanks.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not a crazy person. I mean, I am, but I'm not a crazy person with my clients. I don't expect everybody to have the work ethic of a lot of the people on here. Readjusting the goals, right? Yeah, I also have I have them read their vision each morning. I also just started implementing. Actually, I'll just read it to you. On my first coaching call with them, once we have all their goals established and everything like that, I use a Ziegler performance planner, but you don't need to. A regular notebook will work, or a $5 or $10 planner off of Amazon works just fine. And what I want them to do is I wake up before 5, so my head's a little fuzzy to start writing goals out at 5 o'clock in the morning. I do mine the night before. So when you wake up, there's no excuse of I don't know what to do. So you wake up, very first thing you do is you review your goals every single morning. And you review your goals, you get your mindset right. It reminds you of exactly why you're doing what you're doing, and it's the goals for the day. After that, at the end of the day, while they're creating their goals for the next morning, I have them write their daily wins down in their planner. So when they come to the call, they have all their wins already there. One of my most powerful questions I really love asking clients is that who do you want to be in the next 6 months? I do 6-month coaching packages. And it's all qualities. What are the qualities you want? You want to have integrity, you be authentic. I don't feed them anything. They have to do it all themselves. These next 3 questions could easily fill an hour. So once you go over the wins and the challenges, and I've been testing this out, and I just started implementing because I wanted to see how it was going to work, is that what is being intentional to you? What does that mean to you? And then we discuss it back and forth, and we allow that person to hang out with that. My second question is where are you most intentional? And then we discuss that. It's usually about 10 to 15 minutes each. If it's shorter, it doesn't matter. If it's longer, it doesn't matter. And then my third question, and this is where we get to have some fun and start creating stuff from, is where are you not intentional? And within the last 6 to 8 months, I asked somebody that question, and they said, man, I'm not intentional with my family. I'm intentional with my work, but not my family. I'm like, cool, that sounds awesome. I said, so great insight. So what are you going to do about that? How could you be more intentional with your family? Let's just pick one person at a time. And we started with his wife, and then we went down to each one of his kids. I'm like, man, that's amazing. What would happen if you did that? Completely broke down. I'd have the family that I've always wanted. That sounds cool. How can I support you with that? Man, I don't know. I'm going to text you as I do this. Cool. I'll look forward to them. I can't even wait to celebrate with you. Yeah. That was an hour and a half conversation, 3 questions. It's a lot of emotion in it. I don't like my calls going over an hour, but I always give the extra 30 minutes on my schedule. See? Let's see. All right. I have a couple of small things, and so if you guys have questions, start coming up with questions. As I told you, I'd talk to you about body language, and you don't need to know what any of them mean. That's the greatest thing about it. If you do want to study it, it's a great idea. It's not a necessity. So when you're coaching with people and you're looking for subtle things that they're doing, they'll turn their head, they'll sit back in their seat. I love it when my clients come in with their arms crossed. I'm like, oh, it's going to be fun. There's a lot of resistance here today. And I'll call them out on it too. Hey, your arms are crossed. How was that day? Oh, geez, it was crazy, Steve. And that's a pattern interrupt. But you're looking for it. You're looking for them to turn away, take their glasses off, nod their head, go like this, anything. And I don't say, oh, I saw you look up to the left. Does that mean you're thinking about the story you're going to tell me? I just go, oh, I saw you shift right now, or just now. So what came up for you? Oh, it was just something that you said made me think of something. Oh, cool. What was that? And they're just, stuff comes up. Oh, I wonder why that came up. And then they go, oh, that's a good question. I'm not sure. I don't know. You want to think about it for a minute? Yeah, think a while. Awesome. I'm going to go fill my cup up with water. I'll be right back. I let people all the time let them be by themselves on my calls. It's really strong. I come back, so how was that? Man, I came up with all this stuff. I wrote it all down. Can't wait to talk to you about it. Cool. Or nothing came up. Awesome. Maybe it will come up later on in the call. In any of my coaching calls, there's never anything wrong. Just isn't. I need them to know that this place is a non-judgmental, safe space for them. Even if they say things that are really offensive. I don't put up with bad language on my calls. So I had a gentleman once. He was I don't know how to call him. He was really good at effing. Wow. It was like every third or fourth word. I sat here and I'm like, so you say the F word a lot. You say it everywhere, or is it just on one with me, or are you that comfortable with me? He's like, you know what? That's funny. I never really thought about how much I say that. I do say it a lot, don't I? I mean, well, yeah. So in your field that you're looking to go into, you think that's going to be appropriate? Probably not. Maybe something you want to take a look into. And he's and now he hardly cusses at all. He doesn't say bad words on his Facebook or anything like that anymore. I'm not going to tell you shouldn't curse. I won't. We're going to create a place where it's just not appropriate. And I let you figure that place out. Because I don't say the F word on my calls. I barely say poop. I don't even like saying that. It feels awkward. Because some people don't like that word. My brother-in-law hates that word. Observe, not absorb. Let's see. Yeah. I do tell a lot of story. You guys haven't heard me tell a lot of story on these calls. And there's a difference between telling a story about yourself and telling a story around insight. So when somebody talks to me about, I just can't talk to my dad because he's a big jerk, and be like, man, I totally get that. Then I ask them what they've tried so far. Do they want a relationship? Does he want a relationship, and so forth? Yeah. Cool. So, it's interesting. You remind me of a conversation that I've had with my dad in the past. And he just didn't want to talk to me. And for a long time, he was right. I was right about it too. He didn't want to talk to me, and I allowed him to be right about it. In all reality, I know he did. So what do I do about it? And then I take him through a story that worked for me. And if it doesn't sit with them, it doesn't sit with them. Because telling somebody they need to go apologize for their mom or their dad or their brother or sister or their employer or whatever for something that they don't feel like they did anything wrong, you're setting them up for failure. However, in a conversation, there's always two people responsible. Not fault, responsible. Things are said, people react, then we react back and forth. 99% of the time, in fact, I would like to say 100% of the time, but I'll say the majority, be safe. In the majority of the time that I've been coaching people in that space, they don't remember why it started. I have no idea. Been going on for so long. It's a travesty. Yeah. That's awesome. I love how you guys interact with such boldness, man. It's really awesome. Thank you for that, Amy. You know, it's in the coaching space, I'm hoping that one thing I made clear was that the person you're coaching is the only person that matters to you in that moment. They are your person. Nothing else matters. Not your text messages, not the dog barking, not the neighbors mowing the lawn, nothing. Unless, you know, your kids are cool. That's I allow that, of course. But your person is in front of you. And it's not because they paid you. It's because they put their life in your hands. Like, I goof on here a lot, and sometimes I stutter over my words, and I do pretty good on the spot with answering questions most of the time. I'm most serious in my life is two places, is when I'm studying scripture and when I'm coaching people. Those are my two serious places. I don't have to be serious with my family anymore. They already know that I'm a 5-year-old up here. That's easy. I just have to show up for them. They get that. But when you're coaching somebody and you're being present with them, the questions just come. And here's a neat thing. If you don't know what to ask them to elaborate on it. Just, man, that was really an interesting thing to say. So can you elaborate a little bit on that? Yeah, tell me more. Love it. Tell me a little bit more about that. Can you tell me more? You said something earlier that was really interesting. Oh, that bothered you. Why do you think that bothered you? Like, where'd that come from? Because that wouldn't bother me, so I'm just kind of curious. Not that we're comparing or anything, but there was something there. It's really bothered you for a reason. What's happening? All they said was that you were stupid. So what does that mean? It's a word. And all of a sudden they go, oh, son of a what? I remember now. It just came up in my mind that this happened when I was here in this age. All right, awesome. So here's what's cool, is that when we're having the conversation with people, you get to help them see where they're putting meaning that doesn't need to have meaning in it. Because our whole life is full of meaning. And it has it because we put meaning on everything. The way that people look at you when they're driving, the way our husbands and wives look at us sometimes from across the table, the way the kids look at you when they're walking away from you, get that little over the shoulder look. My mom used to say all the time, you better watch that look. I'm like, oh, something, look, I don't know. I wasn't even a look, but it didn't matter. There was meaning on it. She put meaning on it. Somehow I disrespected her somewhere. I have no idea how it happened, but it did. So it's just best not to look. When you're in trouble, just keep on walking. Just absorb the punishment, go to your room and be quiet. But we put meaning on everything. Meaning's everywhere. Words, looks, hair, not hair, beards, where we live, our economics, our racial backgrounds. Every single thing has meaning on it when it simply doesn't have to have meaning. That we're all human beings. We're all children of God, and we're all put here for a reason, and we all have our own stuff. So you get to help somebody see meaning in things. All the questions that everybody's asked so far, I love questions. When we're sitting here in a place of inquisitive, sometimes it's because we're looking for the one thing that will help settle our mind a little bit. I know back in 2018, I hired, his name's David Wright. Give me 1 second, Joseph. Thank you. I hired David Wright. He created all the curriculum inside of the Ziglar headquarters. He did all. I'm like, I'm hiring that guy. Process, man, he's a maniac. Like volumes of stuff. Like this is the Choose to Win book. This is the curriculum that he put together. Pages and pages on each chapter. I'm like, he's the guy. I get in, dupe him into letting me give him money to coach me. And he says, what do you want? And I said, I want the process to coach people to breakthrough. I'm like, it's gonna be awesome. And he goes, what process do you want? I'm like, I don't know. Just give me the process, whatever the process looks like. I don't even have any idea. And he goes, you just ask questions. I'm like, nope, totally got that. I'm a good question asker. But I want to know the process you do, though. He goes, I get on and I go, how was your week? And I go, all right, cool, I got that one. I do that one too. And he goes, what else? And he goes, depends on what they say. And I'm like, so you got? He's like, yep. Just questions. I'm like, well, that was terrible. And he says to me, and he says, here's the question that I have for you. Now, this is 3 years ago, mind you. And he says to me, what has you have the need to know exactly how the future is going to be before you step into it? I was like, oh, man, I thought I was past that. The way it showed up for me was I needed everything to line up. That's how it showed up for me. Fear of the future, fear of the unknown. Popped up 3 months ago. Again. Popped up. The thing about coaching, who supports Amy? Amy, we all have value? Yes. You should applaud yourself for that. Thank you for that. The thing about these things, the thing about coaching is that, and I'll say it one more time, and then I've ignored Joseph, and I apologize for that, brother, is that when you're with the person, the Holy Spirit, I promise you this, will fill you with questions. The most uncomfortable one where you're arguing with him in your mind, you're going, no, not this time. He's like, no, come on, it's good, it's good. And you're like, no, give me a, hold on, I'll come up with a reason, wait. I don't want to ask that question. Are you kidding me? You feel the sweat going down my back, God? This is not cool, man, I don't want to do this. And he's like, ask a question. Fine, why are you so scared of everything? That used to be the question I hated asking. What are you afraid of? Now it's probably every other call, every other client that I have, I'm asking the same exact question. It's because I didn't want to make the person mad, because I wanted them to like me. And that ruined their breakthrough, not mine. Because I was so worried about what they thought of me, I wasn't willing to let them have a breakthrough. The Holy Spirit will fill you. I promise you. And when he fills you with a question, ask it. And if they say, well, that was offensive, it's cool, it wasn't meant to be. Why do you think it was offensive? Now we get to go down another path. All right, don't get me on these paths. Joseph, you put your hand up 3 minutes ago. I apologize for that.
No, you're good. I do have another endeavor in like 10 minutes, so maybe you can answer quick. But how would you handle or advise, let's say a client ends up turning out to be extremely prideful and uncoachable halfway through your thing? How would you deal with that? And they paid in full. Let's throw that out there. Like, they paid in full. First month went really well, and then week 5, week 6, week 7, it was just kind of like, well, that's not what God is telling me, or that's just not what I think, or it's just like, well, then why do you continue to hop on every week just to be combative with me? Like, sure. I don't, like, you know what I mean? I don't understand. So any advice to that, or?
Oh, he muted himself.
Was that?
Any advice on that? So I love that question. Did I stop you before you were finished?
No, I had a phone call,
good.
so I had to decline the phone call.
Oh, perfect. So all right, so I'm gonna I'll state it back so I know I understand. So you had somebody that say paid for 6 months of coaching. We'll just use that number. And at month 2, they just all of a sudden were like, "This is nuts." They just started backing out, being combative, not doing the tasks. Okay.
Their true colors came out. Sure.
All right. So yeah, we got to be cautious on how we put labels there. So what I would probably look for is I'm looking for how is this a habit in their life?
Okay.
That they start going down the path and then they stop and then they shift and then they stop and they shift, or they can become combative. So I would just straight up call them out. Say, hey, so it was interesting that we were doing really well for the first couple of calls and it looks like something shifted in you. So what happened there? And I wouldn't even address it at this one. I'm going to go 3 or 4 calls back, you know, and see if they recognize it. Because
I did. And then it went off on, I have what was the wording they used? I have a Moses calling and no one's really going to understand me. That includes you. And so I was just like, whoa, okay. So they honestly think that they were just hearing from God and they don't need to listen to anybody. And so this is like, don't know if I'll ever come to that again, but you know what? I would imagine, because people are people, right? And we have a lot of similarities sometimes. So just kind of wanted to get some insight into that.
Yeah. So there's and I think Ron and I have had this conversation actually ages ago, where it's, I need to pray on this and ask God for this. When somebody says something like that to me, I'm like, well, let's pray now. Let's pray now. Let's get together, man. We're 2 coming together. Let's do this. What would you like to pray about? Maybe we can come together and really, I don't want to say tag team God, but you know what I mean. But like, so, but in that case there, if they're being really looking to back out of it, I will probably push pretty hard on it, because I don't want them to stay in coaching. They may hang up on me, but the last thing they hear is, this seems like a pattern that continues to show up for you. So I'd probably take a look at it. If you never speak to me again, take a look at how this shows up. And if it's shown up in your past, where you start getting gung-ho about something and then you stop, I would look at that and just kind of see, what is this doing to my life and how many things are incomplete for me? You know what I mean? I need them to see the pattern. It's for me, it's a mission. I don't want them to stay though. They don't have to stay coaching with me. I'll give them their money back. If they're really adamant about it, I'll be out of it.
And so how would you go about that? Because they paid in full and it doesn't divide evenly monthly, because that's not like a monthly thing, it's a package thing. So how would you even contemplate about giving a refund? Do you just say, hey, thanks for stealing for the last couple of months? I'll give you your entire refund back. Here's half. Like, how would you, because you said I'll give you your money back. So how would you even contemplate about doing that? Just the whole thing?
I've only considered it one time.
Okay.
And it was a percentage. However, the percentage worked out. I'm not gonna fight the person over it, because what will end up happening, if it's a $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 number, they're going to take me to court. It's not worth the aggravation. And here's the thing. I look at it like this. God puts people in your life and they break out. And sometimes that person was there for us to have the insight that we need to have. I don't know what that looks like. I have no idea. But I'm not going to fight people over money. I stopped doing that a long time ago. If they really don't want to be coached by me, then but if they're like double middle fingering and they're out of here, I'll be like, all right, we'll see you later. I want my money back. Well, and if I felt like being a stinker about it, I'm like, look, here's the thing. You signed a contract, so my integrity has to have you in this. So I don't know how your integrity is dealing with this right now, but that's the way mine sits. So I'm gonna have to put some thought into this, and I'll let them sit for weeks. But my intention is, I'm probably going to give them half of them. Or I think Gloria used a great word. I'll prorate it. It's not worth the aggravation for me. You know? And
yeah, for sure.
That's all. I don't take it personally because it's not my thing. They're not coming after me because of me. Something happened somewhere and they heard it. You know, sometimes I'll give them a couple of months off. Why don't you take a month off and really be with where you are? Let's readdress it in May.
For sure. Thanks.
That help at all?
Yeah, no, yeah, for sure. More helpful than you may think sometimes.
Oh, sweet. All right, I'll take it. Thanks, man. I dig you. You got good passion. Right? I saw that, Ron. Yeah. Where were we here? Oh, yes. Last part here. This is a question for you to play with. Is who's playing small today? And I don't take that lightly. And that's not like, oh, you should be playing bigger. I don't believe that. I believe that God is putting people in front of us all the time. And because you're equipped to coach, he's given people to you. And if we slow down enough to see the opportunities, we'll see the people sitting there waiting. Because our integrity it's conforming to our word that we created, whether it's being on time, whether it's doing it's not the right and wrong, by the way. Integrity is doing what you know needs to be done. And it's keeping our word. Because how we show up for our people in our lives and how we show up for our coaches is exactly what we're going to allow our clients to get away with. So if we give into our excuses, if we give into if we're constantly late, if we sit back and we're just kind of not really present during the call, then that's the way we're going to allow our clients to be. If our coaches are saying you need to do this, this, and this to achieve this result, and we only do half of it, then we're going to be like, oh, it's cool, man. Don't worry about it. Just go ahead and get it done between now and the next call. It's fine. It's not fine. They put their lives in our hands. And it sounds like a lot of responsibility. It is. Whether they pay you $4 or $40,000, money doesn't matter. It's the fact that they trust you. So how we be is how we show up. It's going to be how they show up. I was very out of integrity and didn't realize it. So now I have to do what I have to do with my kids, of course, excuse me, with Danielle and then the boys and then everything else. Yeah. Any questions? We covered a lot of stuff tonight. Man, we're going by fast. I don't even remember what I said to y'all. I'm going to go back and watch. Did you guys get value from this? Were you able to create something for yourself?
I wanted to ask what were some highlights from tonight? I wasn't on the whole thing. What were some aha moments? What are we going to be applying in our coaching businesses this week? Fill me in, guys.
I think for
look
me,
at the camera shut off.
That was an accident. I was trying to unmute.
I think I heard Linda start.
I was starting. This is Linda. For me, what was kind of helpful is just incorporating kind of the pre-enrollment conversation in more casual and even sometimes social situations. And that's something that is something that should be really easy for me to do. And I think that will help my comfort zone.
So how can you implement that?
I can implement it by just having conversations with people because I tend to go deep. And especially people that kind of fit my what did you call it? Not demographic, but
The psychographic.
what was it? Psychographic.
Psychographic.
Yeah. So people that fit, people that fit my psychographics could be my potential clients. And for me personally, just starting out in the coaching business, I think it's okay for me to have some scholarship opportunities and just to cut my teeth and get kind of a confidence level going forward. Yeah. Even if I do that through church or whatever, that I could do it more casually to kind of build up my sea legs a little bit.
Awesome. Very cool.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for that, Linda. Let's see. Bethany says, this is helpful. Think about psychographics versus demographics and the practical piece of letting them ask about price. Cool. Enrolling into possibilities is creating clients. Awesome, Cheryl. I'm excited for this challenge. You don't know what it is yet. Your approach with kindness above. Oh, thanks, Gloria. Yeah. The biggest thing here is just caring about people, man. We all care about people. It's cool. So what's the challenge? The challenge is waiting, being patient. I'm kidding. This is me, right?
Still,
like that.
for 1 hour. That's the challenge.
Yeah. Here, I think the misconception about coaching is that we need to be these deep transformational breakthrough coaches on day one, and it's simply not the case. I'm not kidding. Tom told me, like I can literally see him sitting there. It was 3 years ago. He said, if you're just a lamppost, they walk up to you every week and spoke to you every week, their life will be exponentially better. The fact that you talk back to them, that's a bonus. And I thought it was so funny when he said it to me. He's like, I'm serious. And then, you know, when you start coaching more, you're like, oh my goodness, I know Ron's laughing his butt off because he totally gets it. You just sit there and just listen to people sometimes, and it's like, man. So I thought that was kind of funny. And so the fact that you get to ask and have them go deeper, just by, tell me more about that. Tell me more. Is that was you, right, Bethany? Tell me more. Elaborate on that. Man, how was that? What happened there? I saw the shift. What's going on? Oh man, just something you just said was really neat. Hey, what was that? Oh, why was that? Why was that neat? Like I gotta tell you, I love digging into people with questions and just keep going. All of a sudden they just go, wait a minute. Yeah. Whoa. And I'm like, what? Are you going to share? What's happening, man? I'm muting myself. Just go ahead and talk. Like that's the greatest part, man. Oh, why the tears? So here's your challenge. Ron, I'm going to have to redo this, but it has my name on the top. Are you cool if I just put this in the group? Do you care?
No, I go for it, man. You're you know, everybody knows you're part of Christ Centered Coaching, and it's all good. And you have your own business too.
I'm gonna put this. There's no link or anything, so it's cool. It's not like opt in here. So I'm gonna give this is the goal setting session.
Oh, nice.
This right here, I have created a lot of clients with. Okay. So your challenge is to go out over the next week and create a testimony. So here's how you can word it. I just gave this to my client right before our call today. I said, you're going to talk to, I don't care who it is. Could be your brother, your sister. It doesn't matter. It doesn't, who it is, as long as it's not like your 8-year-old son. So all you do is to say, look, I'm working with a coach right now, and we're going through some systems. You can say that you're working to be a coach, however you want to word it. But I kind of need a guinea pig. Will you help me? Great. Or anything. They're having us do goal setting, and it's anywhere from next 12 to 18 months. will you entertain like 30 minutes with me? All I need to do is get your feedback. So then they go, oh, yeah, sure, why not? I mean, I'll, whatever. And then you have this conversation with them. You don't ask for feedback at the end, you ask for a testimony. So you shift your language. So when you're done, and the only thing you don't, you can practice step 9 if you want to, where it says, would you like to know what it looks like? You take them through the pitch. You can totally do that if you want. It's completely up to you. You might gain a client. I've had people do this. One of the things that I've done with people in the past is every week they need to create a testimony, every single week. And what happens organically is you create clients. Because here's the reality of the situation. If you're charging $500 a month, just a measly $500 a month, that's $6,000 a year. In a 12-month period, if you gain 10 clients, that's $60,000. That's not get rich money, but man, that sure is fun. Yes, thank you for that, Ron. Please, outside of the coaching, do it with somebody you know. What's really fun is you do it to random people on Facebook. That's always fun. Just hey, I know we just met. Going through a coaching program right now, and I have this thing. It's a goal setting formula, and apparently it works really, really well. You want to be my guinea pig?
You'd be surprised how much that works. Like I used to take swings like that when I was in network marketing, and you'd be surprised how many people you sign up. Just doing it. I think we get in our heads a lot about all of this stuff, and can I create transformation? What questions am I going to ask? What am I saying? How do I get clients? And if you really just own the position of I'm a Christ-centered coach and embrace your calling, that is like a big chunk of it right there. I know that's an intangible thing, but I felt like once I really stepped into that position of like, hey, I'm a coach and I'm going to own it and it's going to be part of me now, that it unlocked and opened so many things for me in my life and in my business. I just really owning that, it changed how I showed up in my content, with my clients, in getting clients. I was more confidently asking God for divine appointments and finding clients like that. Steve, did you talk about divine appointments tonight?
I didn't. Thank you for bringing that up. Do you want to talk about it or you want me to? I have a neat story.
I think I would like you to share.
All right. So we'll, sorry, I have to jet. Man, if you have 45 seconds for this story, Bethany, where are you? There you are. Maybe a minute. I'll start right now. So I had a coach tell me a couple of years ago, he said, how's business? I said, it's going okay. I could probably use a couple more clients. He's like, why don't you ask God during your time with him for a divine appointment? I'm like, fair enough. So I did. I was getting ready to go to a networking event. And if you've heard this, just entertain me. And so I was going to a networking event and I was scanning the room. It was very, like, to say they were making $10 million a year would have been like the low guy on the tunnel. But these were really financially successful people. I'm like, holy smokes. So I'm panning the room. I'm looking around. I'm looking for the most comfortable person I could sit next to. That's where I was, right? And I sit down and I see this guy and we kind of locked eyes. I'm like, I'm going to sit with that dude. We start talking back and forth and I start asking him questions. I'm like, what do you do? What are the challenges? Oh my word, that sounds really tough. How do you handle that? Tell me about your employees. And this was really in his business. And finally, he's like, man, what do you do? And I told him, I was like, well, this is exactly what I do. I said, I help people with exactly the challenges you told me about. He's like, cool. Would you help me with my son? My son works for me. He's 35. I'm like, sure. I mean, I'm willing to have a conversation with him. I said, I don't really know where it'll lead. He's like, awesome. The event starts. 45 minutes later, we're done. He stands up and he goes, Steve, I got to tell you, I've been thinking about our conversation the entire time. In fact, I wasn't really paying attention to that guy. Something's bigger here. And I was like, yeah, I kind of feel that. And he goes, I feel like this may have been a divine appointment. And I'm like, I'm going to go ahead and agree with you on that one. So we shook hands, and I worked with him for, I don't remember how long. It was probably the majority of 2019. So when we ask, he brings. I asked for divine appointments 3 weeks ago. I got 3 clients. He put them in front of me. I had to show up. We can't just all of a sudden be like, here's some paperwork. You know, God sent you, so sign this and send me some money. And we still got to go through the motions. But when we do ask for the divine appointments, God will bring you those appointments. You just have to be ready for them. So I would be very, very excited to hear somebody prayed for one of those, and something popped up. So I told you I'd be quick. If you need to jump, Bethany.
That was awesome, Steve. Thank you. So I forget, earlier when I first got started, around the beginning, I had a good year and a half where the majority of my clients were coming through just God bringing them divine appointments. And I want to share this just to clarify. I'm not saying go to God as a transaction to get something from him, right? We're saying, ask God for people to serve. The book of James is clear that when you ask and you receive not, it's because you ask and your heart motives are wrong, that you're looking to actually spend it on selfish pleasures and ambitions and things like that. Every time Jesus performed a miracle or before he served, oftentimes it says right before, he was moved with compassion. He was moved with compassion, and then he served. So when I pray for divine appointments, what I'm genuinely praying and and what it looks like is I'm praying, I'm asking God to bring me people that want to build the kingdom, that will make it to the end, that will succeed, that are perfect tailor fit for me to help. And that's really what I want and what I'm asking for, because all the stuff that you've been through and that you've overcome and beaten, it's not for no reason. It's not for in vain, right? I want to use that stuff now to glorify my King and to create breakthrough and help other people. So just to piggyback on what Steve already taught tonight, divine appointments and really owning that position as a coach. Pastor Joe.
Ron, can I just, what I want to do is come into agreement with what you just said. In the ministry that my wife and I have, and even when we were over our altar prayer team at church, the one thing we taught was it's done in compassion, because you're right. That's how Jesus moved, and that's how we need to move, whether it's in our personal life, our relationships and family, our business life. We need to move in compassion. If we're truly going to be called Christ-centered coaches, compassion is key. Amen. And if you get compassion, just like Jesus did, he's going to be empowered by Holy Spirit. He's going to hear from the Father. We're going to get that same benefit that Jesus did when we move in compassion. So yeah, that is totally key. And I do believe in divine appointments, not just for coaching, but I mean, my wife and I sat down at a restaurant to go eat the other day. We ended up praying for the owner and his family for the business. That was a divine appointment.
That's awesome.
And so in coaching and in life, look for those divine appointments, but move in compassion. I couldn't agree with you both more on that.
Thank you, Joe.
A great example. You have good people in here, Ron.
Yeah, they're awesome. They're awesome. Thank you for pouring into us tonight, Steve. It's always awesome to have you help us become better coaches. So we appreciate you. Thank you for everything. Steve, do you want to pray first? You want to close us out?
Yeah. So I wanted to say something just briefly, and then we'll just for a second.
Of course.
The way I coach is not the only way. I've learned from some incredible coaches. I mean, I've been very blessed with the coaches that have come across my desk. and I've been blessed enough to be able to afford most of them. Coaching is an ideal. It's an ideal that we have, and you're going to take whatever you learn from Ron or myself, or even masterminding with each other and with your past experiences, and you're going to create your own coaching program. I don't want you to coach like me, and Ron doesn't want you to coach like him. But what you get to do is you get to pick up the words and the question, like, I like that one. I could probably incorporate that here. I don't coach like, I coach like 6 of my coaches. I've taken all of their stuff and put it in one space. And then I listen very intently for where he's driving me, because I'm not the driver. I am a passenger here. And I don't coach people. I'm a messenger. So the way I coach is not everybody's cup of tea. I just want people to think. That's all. Just think. And if you can add something to your thing from what you learned tonight, that's amazing. That would be awesome. If you don't, hey, thanks for hanging out for a couple hours. I like looking at everybody. Cool. All right. Oh man, thank you, dear Lord, for blessing us for this moment, that we can serve people in a way where they can see more of you, that we can slow down enough, shut up the world, and listen to your words, and take your words and take the Holy Spirit's guidance and pour into people. Thank you for allowing us to be present with each other tonight. Thank you for allowing us to be blessed enough to have internet and sight and hearing. Thank you for allowing us to glorify you in all that we do and all that we haven't done yet. Please help us be the beacon of light that you want us to be the children of you that you want us to be, that we can impact people in your name, Lord. Please keep us on the straight and narrow, that we can also show up in our lives how you want us to show up, to be an inspiration to others, and to show and lead with your love and compassion and empathy. Help us be more like you, Christ. Let us walk how you walked. Please guide us in directing us. Bring us the people that you want us to serve, and guide us to serve them how you want us to serve them. That we can do your work, that we can spread your word in one form or another to the four corners, Lord, so you can have a quick and expedient return. Please be with our family and friends, be with those that we said we would pray for. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you, Steve. Thank you, Christ Center coaches. We'll see you next week. Next Monday, workshop night. Get ready, come make some lead magnets, some more offers. It's going to be fun. I'll see you guys in the Facebook group. Shoot some lives. Do all that good stuff. Love you guys. Have a great night.
You guys. Love you all. Bye-bye.